Hello, good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm just giving it a minute while everybody hops in from the waiting room. Perfect. Looks like we are all set and everybody is in. So I'll go ahead and kick it off. So thanks everybody for joining me for this event organizer info session. My name is Morgan, and just going to put some people on mute just in case you haven't done that when you joined. Perfect. Awesome. So my name's Morgan, and I'm the director of SF Climate Week, and really appreciate all of you coming to this info session to learn a bit more about how to get involved in San Francisco Climate Week this year. These info sessions are we go over how SF Climate Week is structured and some of the different ways to get involved. And then I'm also going to let you know a bit about where we're at in the planning process. For example, the calendar just went live to the public on Monday. So if anybody was wondering about that timeline, that is now up and live. I'll let you know a bit more about what our timeline is for event submissions over the next month. And then I'll cover some of the resources that we are currently working on putting together and some that will also be released over the next couple of weeks. The presentation part of this usually takes around 45 minutes. And then at the end, we'll open up for Q&A. So if there's anything that I didn't cover in the slides, or if you have a question that's unique to the type of event or your organization, we can also have some time at the end to answer any specific questions as well. Awesome. So I'll dive into it. So to kick us off, I want to start off by introducing Climate Base, which is the organization behind SF Climate Week. So if you're not familiar with Climate Base, we are, we started off as a job board platform to help really highlight a lot of the great roles that are available to work full-time in climate. And since then, we've added on a number of different initiatives. We also have a fellowship program where we have about 3,000 people who've graduated from our 12-week program that does a deep dive on a bunch of different climate areas. That fellowship runs twice a year. And then we also have, of course, we've launched SF Climate Week in 2023. I'm actually a climate-based fellow grad. I worked in tech for about 10 years here in San Francisco. And then near the tail end of COVID, really realized that I wanted to move into working on climate full time and really making that my top focus. And so I wasn't really sure where to start. So I joined the Climate-Based Fellowship in cohort 2. And that's how I got connected to a whole bunch of different amazing organizations here in San Francisco, and what led to us starting SF Climate Week. And really, SF Climate Week, if you kind of think about like what we are, it really is just a huge community building and partnership initiative. It's a little bit different than a typical conference. It's decentralized. It's really built for the community and by the community, and with most of the events being independently organized by people like you. Some cases it's an organization that's hosting something, or sometimes it's just a collection of individuals who are really passionate about a specific topic or have a specific initiative they're trying to get over the line. We do not put any gatekeeping in terms of who can run an event. Really the only guidelines we have are when it's fitting within the schedule, and that it's like an event that's focused on a climate topic that will be engaging for the community. So to chat a little bit about SF Climate Week, our genesis and where we're at now, in case you're not familiar. So we launched SF Climate Week in 2023. It's kind of hard to believe that we're only going into our third year because we have grown so much. Even that first year, we ended up having about 7,000 attendees, even though we announced the dates about 6 weeks out. So really just a testament, I think, to how powerful and motivated the climate community is here in San Francisco. We were able to pull so many different initiatives together in that first year. We had over 100 events on the calendar and over 300 partners involved. Last year, we grew 3x across most metrics, making us one of the fastest growing climate events in the US. We had about 18,500 attendees and over 350 events on the calendar. So difficult to estimate exactly how big we're going to grow this year because it is decentralized and it's largely determined by the community. But if we conservatively grow at about 50%, we're looking at upwards of 25,000 attendees and over 450 events this year. So based on where we're at in the calendar now, we've got about 200 events live on the calendar. And we know, and last year we saw a number of the like I would say at least half of the events were added in the last month before SF Climate Week. And so I think we're on track to hit those numbers. I'll chat a little bit more about the timeline and how much time you have to organize and plan an event as well. Our Because of just the nature of what we're building here, it's a little bit different than the standard event planning timeline. You can actually add an event pretty close to the actual kickoff dates and still have a packed house and a really successful event. So I'll chat a bit more about that in the timeline slide. Okay, so who is the audience for SF Climate Week? This is kind of a tricky one to answer because when I think about the SF Climate Week audience and describe to event organizers how to think about the strategy in terms of who you're engaging, it's both very, very broad and also very narrow. When you think about how many people are coming to San Francisco for Climate Week, we're anticipating 25 to 30,000 attendees. So we are engaging people across every different climate sector, and more we're engaging people who are coming from multiple disciplines as well. In year one, I would say we had definitely a strong focus on climate tech companies and VCs, just given the nature of what we see in San Francisco. But more and more, we're seeing a lot more established industries getting involved. We're running an energy summit this year that is just packed. And we're seeing a lot more corporate involvement, as well as city, state, and even some federal officials and policymakers as we're kind of expanding our reach and the awareness around San Francisco Climate Week as well. But at the same time, a lot of our events are on the smaller side. Most of the events are under 100 people, typically around like 75. They take all different types of shapes and sizes. So happy hours, speaker panels, expert roundtables. And so when you think about if your event is going to be targeting around 75 to 100 people, and that's out of 25,000 people who are coming to visit, you actually can make your event very highly targeted and curated for a very specific audience. That's actually one of the things that we've heard is one of the strengths of SF Climate Week is that we've had people come back and tell us that they had an amazing conversation with about 60 battery experts, and every single person had had about like 10 years of experience in the space. And so they didn't have to dumb anything down. They were having an incredibly high level conversation that was very focused. So this is the type of thing where with the critical mass that we have, you can either think about going really broad or you can think about going really narrow when you're identifying the topic for your event. So why are people attending SF Climate Week? Well, there's a number of different reasons why people will attend, but for the most part, it's people who are looking to learn about new climate issues and solutions, or they're looking to deepen their expertise in their field. They might be coming to find a co-founder and to connect with great talent, or it might be to launch their climate career and kind of get their first foot in the door. We definitely hear a lot of stories about people who find their first investor or an early stage advisor, or identify, or on the flip side, if you're a VC, you might be identifying founders who are breaking new ground in an area where you have an investment thesis that you're looking to explore. We've also heard stories about people acquiring their very first customer. And on the flip side, you've got companies that are actually pretty well established and are looking to grow their market share. We're definitely seeing a lot more involvement from corporate partners, especially ones that have corporate venture arms as well, and are looking to establish new connections with startups that can either support their customers or even are developing technologies that they can be adopting in-house. And finally, we see more and more events that are talking a bit more about what are some of the policies that we could be changing, initiatives we should be looking at, conversations we can be having with local and state, and in some cases, federal government leaders as well. So in terms of the SF Climate Week support and how the SF Climate Week organizing team sees our role, we really think about ourselves as the overall like connective tissue around SF Climate Week. So a lot of the work that we do is focused on creating the brand and then a unified experience for attendees that kind of overarches the decentralized nature of SF Climate Week. So when we think about what that looks like, it's setting up the operational support for the shared SF Climate Week calendar and the technology that allows you to have an individual partner event page that you can run and manage on your own. We also manage the centralized SF Climate Week newsletter, social media, and this is just the general audience building that we do as well. We establish media partnerships with other climate organizations to help engage more people every year, and doing a lot around like how we're kind of building up the SF Climate Week newsletter with different updates, opportunities for people when they're coming to San Francisco, different ways that they can engage with some of the businesses that are here as well. We also manage all the event organizer and attendee communications, things like this info session where we kind of give an overall overview of how to get involved, what to do around the calendar. And then once you submit your event, you'll also be added to our event organizer email distribution list, where we give regular updates basically each week on all of the different kind of things to be keeping in mind, including as we get closer to SF Climate Week, things like how you're managing your approvals, managing things around Luma and the registration, and getting ready to run your event. We also do some work around like venue and vendor research support, which you can find in the event organizer portal. But this is, for example, we reach out to different venues, ask them to hold the dates for SF Climate Week. So things like, if somebody's going to come to you and ask if they can do an event that's about healthcare, maybe encourage them to do the week before or the week after and really hold these dates for climate organizations. And we get a lot of venues that are really excited to be hosts for events that are happening throughout the week, and will hold those dates for us. So you can find those in the venue database. And then we also do a lot of around like SF Climate Week content creation from the event. So curating photos, video that might be coming from some of the events that we're running, but also the events that you guys are putting together as well. So if you have a photographer or a videographer at your event and you're capturing some great content, make sure to send that our way. It may get included in our recap coverage, or potentially even in the end of week video that we put together. We also manage the coordination with the city of San Francisco and with like local, state, and federal government participation as well. We've got a great relationship with the city of SF and the Department of the Environment. We also work closely with the mayor's team, and in this case now we're actually starting to work with some state and in some cases some federal policymakers as well, who are looking to engage at SF Climate Week on very specific issues. And so we can help kind of direct them towards the events where the conversations that they're most interested in are happening. And in some cases, we'll arrange for more private, like closed door meetings as well while they're in town. So if you happen to be working with anyone who would fit the bill for that, let us know. We may be able to collaborate on how we're building out a program for the week. And vice versa, if you have an event or a topic where you are talking about something policy related and you would like to get representation, let us know, and we can put it on their radar and see if it's the type of event that they'd be looking to engage in. Similar thing goes for our outreach to prominent speakers and our media and shared PR coverage. When we do outreach to prominent speakers, oftentimes we're doing it for one of the events that we're running, but they may be interested in knowing, are there additional events that I can either attend or potentially speak at during that week? And that can help make the trip more engaging. Similar for PR coverage. So PR will typically come to us first. We do put together a press kit. And so if you have a notable story, a specific highlight, or something that's being announced during the week, let us know, and we can make sure that we're including that in our press kit as well. Another thing that we do is provide guidance on how to run great events. And so I'm really excited to pass the mic over to Becky Holden from Recology, who's going to talk about some best practices for running sustainable events. So as you're thinking about your overall event design, some kind of key things you should be thinking about there. So I'll pass it over to Becky.
Good morning. Thanks, Morgan. I'm excited to be here, and I have a slide deck here that I'll share my screen. So yes, Recology is the collection company here in San Francisco. We are headquartered in San Francisco. We have offices, our operations throughout California, Oregon, and Washington. Here, I'm part of a team that wants to help with zero waste and making sure that we're thinking through how to reduce the impact. So if you have any questions, we've got a one-pager that's up on your resources there that has information I'm covering here, as well as links, and then an email address. You can always just email if you have any questions that I could help with. So to have a zero waste event, it would be great. So your participants are, part of a solution and making sure that they're minimizing their impacts and being sustainable. Just a couple of things to think about with planning an event. You've got a lot to coordinate. You need, a venue like Morgan was just talking about. You need attendees. You need a topic. but it would be also good to have somebody on your team who's considering the waste and ways that you can make sure that the event itself is sustainable. So one recommendation is to have somebody take the lead on your team with making sure you've got collection stations figured out and you're thinking about what are the people coming to this event going to create in terms of waste. Where are they going to put that thing? Say it's a napkin from a appetizer, or say it's a stir stick from a cup of coffee. You want to have a collection station. So we have the picture here of the paper boxes, or a lot of these venues will already have the infrastructure. Something to consider is if you're serving food or drink, make sure that you're thinking through those products. And so we recommend reusables, durables, like an actual coffee cup versus a paper cup. Or I guess the alternative to a reusable would be something that's compostable. So a compostable paper cup would be ideal. And then after that would be perhaps a compostable plastic cup, just so that we're thinking through the life cycle of our products. And then encouraging your participants, planning ahead when you reach out to them to say, we're looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Don't forget to bring your reusables, your reusable bag to carry home any sort of paperwork, or your reusable water bottle so you don't have to take a disposable cup. So those are just some of the topics that are in that one pager that will be up on the portal. And I wanted to just quickly go through what Recology is and what we do, because this is what I'm passionate about, and I think this is what we all are aware of. So I know I'm speaking to people that are on the same page as me, but 70% of what the United States is putting into the landfill, we realize could be recycled or composted. San Francisco is ahead of that. We've got some great programs, and I have a quick video here to just show you what it is that San Francisco does. This is kind of a teaser because Recology will be hosting a tour as part of SF Climate Week. So if you're really burning interested in this, then please sign up for the tour. So here's the quick video. We have the largest footprint of our streams is what is put into the recycling. All of San Francisco's recyclables are picked up by our white collection trucks and taken to Recycle Central, which is this massive warehouse where the material is sorted into 16 different commodities, including cardboard, newspaper, plastics, glass, aluminum, bimetal, various kinds of plastics, and all baled up and sent out to be recycled at different facilities throughout California and then worldwide. So this is Pier 96. You can see it's got many conveyor belts. We have AI sorting technology, optics sorting. We have robots. In this part of the video, we'll show you a robot will be grabbing items and sorting it off a conveyor belt faster than you can blink your eyes. It's just grabbing specific types of plastic in this example and pulling it quickly. So we're excited about that and would be happy to show you. So there's bales of cardboard going. That's the largest by far volume of material we are collecting as cardboard. You can understand why. The green cart is the second largest portion of San Francisco's discards. So many things can be composted. They don't need to go to landfill. So the collection trucks brings all of the compost material, food soiled paper, yard waste, compostable products back to the transfer station. It's brought out to a composting facility. It's ground up. It's turned into beautiful soil amendment. This compost is spread on farms, vineyards, orchards. It helps to pull in carbon out of the air. It helps with reducing water needs because it prevents drought, and it also helps with nutrients. The smallest part of San Francisco's waste profile is garbage. So this is the gray cart products. They're not sorted. They're not recovered. Anything that's picked up in the gray cart does go to this big pit. It's called the pit. It is compacted by a tractor and loaded and sent to a landfill. So that would be, the last thing we want to see is material going to a landfill. Sometimes people have questions about what goes where, so I'll just quickly go through that, but I know we're all probably experts. This is the kind of signage we would recommend having above your recycling. Just if you're not from San Francisco, quick note, we do accept coffee cups, ice cream cartons, and then in the bottom right, you see milk cartons and juice boxes. Um, Materials, I know you're aware, but glass can be recycled again and again and again into glass. Paper can be recycled several times. I think it's 4 times before it kind of is used up and turned into something that can't be recycled further. Metal can be recycled again and again and again. And as we all know, plastic is downcycled, typically getting one more life, is what I call it. So, for example, this type of plastic could be recycled into um, a fabric, a polyester shirt, as this gentleman is modeling. In San Francisco, we can take all food scraps, all food soiled paper, bones, shells are included, paper boxes are included. And then as you can see, we're calling out that if a product is labeled compostable, it has to specifically say compostable. Well, we can accept that in the compost. We can't take anything that isn't clearly labeled, and BPI certified is preferred but not required. This is just a quick remember not to put anything that's not food scraps, so the aluminum and the plastic are not accepted. Those would be considered contaminants. And then the types of things that need to go to landfill would be chips bags, candy bar wrappers, soft plastics, and any sort of PPE. This was one that I figured I would include, but things that are 2 different kinds of material, like paper bonded to plastic or a metal bonded to paper, those are 2 dissimilar items, so those don't go into the recycling because they're 2 different materials. Those would be sent to the landfill. I think we have time for a few questions if anybody has any burning. Otherwise, we can continue.
And if you do have a question, just raise your hand and then I can call on you and you can go off mute. And in the meantime, I actually have a question. I think I noticed in the video that the robot was pulling out those Amazon packaged bags. I think that's a common one that people get confused about because it looks like you could recycle it, but you actually can't, right?
Yeah, so the term recyclable really just means it could be melted and turned into something new. So perhaps those plastics could be recycled, but within San Francisco, we don't have a way of getting those to somebody that, or a company that would take them and turn them into something new. So in San Francisco, those do go to the landfill, which is unfortunate because they typically have that blue chasing arrows symbol on it. So it's very confusing.
Yeah, no, that's helpful. I know my roommates and I always have conversations about which thing can go where. But another one that I thought that I also get confused on, the clamshells. So the plastic clamshells are recyclable?
We can accept rigid plastics, so a clamshell would be considered that. And then the sorting technology we have uses optics in order to sort of, they shoot a laser and it can read the composition of the plastic and know which bale to put it towards. If it's number 1 plastic, like it would go with the other number 1 plastics, HDPE, LDPE, and other types of plastics, the polystyrenes and things like that.
That's amazing. So, for anybody who doesn't know and is in San Francisco, Recology does organize tours on occasion. So, you can sign up for those as a community member and go and actually see a lot of what you saw in the video in person and get an even deeper dive on all the different technologies that Recology is using. Becky's modest, but Recology is one of the leading recycling and waste management companies in the US. And we're really excited to have them as one of our partners for SF Climate Week.
Thank you so much, Morgan.
And Becky, I know you need to jump, so I'll let you hop off for now and we can continue with some more questions around the calendar and event submission process.
Sounds great. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Awesome. So I'll reshare my presentation. Okay, so jumping into more of the details around getting your event submitted or if your event's already on the calendar. So if you have not yet submitted your event and you're wondering how to do that, we have a very detailed event submission guide that will go through all of the different steps around how to create your individual page listing and how to submit that to the calendar. It also has a bunch of best practices around how to set up your event page as well, because after doing this for a couple of years, we know that there's some things that, like, if you set them up in the first place, it just makes your life a lot easier when people start to register for your event. This year, we've also added a new event submission guide video tutorial. So if you're not much of a Google Docs person and you want to watch a video, we go through every single step in that as well. One thing just to call out, especially, is to make sure that you also fill out the database and event marketing form, which will be linked in the event submission guide. Some people just set up their page and then submit it to the calendar and don't do the form. The form's really helpful for a number of reasons. One, we have a new way of displaying tracks this year for the calendar. I'll show that on the subsequent slide. But the way that Luma works, you can't, like, the event organizer can't add those tags to be included in certain tracks on your own. It has to be done on the calendar side. So we need to make that edit for you. So when you fill out the form, we'll ask you what track you'd like to be a part of. You fill that in, and then on our side, we will update it and make sure that you are showing up in the tracks. So a flip side of that question too is if you've already submitted your event and you're wondering if it's why it's not showing up in a track, it may be because we didn't see that track being identified on the form. So you can go back in and edit this form. It does have the ability for an event organizer to log back in and make changes. But if you do that, we may not know that you've done it. So you send us an email as well, just to pop that up on our radar. But the way that you would make edits to the form is by just adding in the Luma URL. The other thing that we use for this form, we also ask for things like your social media tags, who your key point of contact is for the event. And so if you want to be included in SF Climate Week marketing, it's really helpful if you fill out this form. That allows us to promote you in newsletter or on social, or get in touch with you if we have other potential opportunities for you. All of this stuff is included in the 2025 Event Organizer Resource Portal, which has all of these links. It will also have Becky's recording and kind of overview of recycling in San Francisco as well. And it also has links to the venue database, which is that list of potential venues that are available here in San Francisco, as well as a speaker database. The speaker database is essentially people who fill out a form and are kind of raising their hands to be speakers at specific events. This is useful for a couple of reasons. One, if you would like to be a speaker at an event, this was where you would go. There's an intake form that you would fill out, and then the database becomes publicly available to anyone who is on our event organizer comms and has access to this resource portal. On the flip side, if you're putting together an event, we definitely encourage you to take a look at the speaker database to see if there's people you want to maybe invite to round out a panel and get more diverse perspectives, to connect with people who are outside of your community and the folks who you're kind of talking to on a regular basis. This can be a great way to get an outside perspective. We also have a food and beverage database, and the food and beverage database is a chance for different vendors around San Francisco to also list the type of sustainability work that they do. So they can mention if they have compostable cutlery, for instance. If they're a catering company, how are they using like reusable trays, that type of thing. So that can help you plan a more sustainable event and pick a vendor who is already doing really great work in leading in sustainable practices here in San Francisco, which of course is what we're looking to represent and support more of as part of SF Climate Week. Okay, so I mentioned tracks. So this is new this year. As we are getting more and more events on the calendar, we wanted to make it even easier for people to be able to discover the events that they're looking for. So now on the SF Climate Week homepage, we have a way that you can actually search and view by track. And we've got about 15 different categories that you can fall into. You can still go to the main Luma calendar that will also have all of like the events in just chronological order. And of course, you can also see everything just by all events here on our website as well. So multiple options exist. The Luma interface is great if you want they have a little mini map. If you're not from San Francisco, you're looking to see which events are kind of geographically where. But we've created this as a way to add a bit more visibility and then to really make the tracks a bit of a cleaner view. Okay, attendee registration. So this is an important thing to be thinking about as you are setting up your event. When you set up your event, there's a couple of options that you can choose from when you're looking at the Luma setup page. So you can set it up to be invitation only, which essentially means that you need to actually email someone and give them the invitation code in order to register for the event. Another one is to do capped registration, which means you set the capacity for your event, and essentially anybody can register and will be accepted up until you hit capacity. And the last one, and the one that we typically recommend, is apply to register. And so with apply to register, what it means is that you essentially people will register for the event, share their information with you. So what organization are they from? What is their role and title? Any other registration questions that you're interested in asking, like do you have 10 years of experience in battery technology? If you're looking for a very specific type of audience for your event, these types of things can be really helpful. What this allows you to do is then to take a look at who applied for your event and then extend invitations to the folks that make the most sense and are going to add the most to the conversation and to the event experience that you're looking to have. This is great when it comes to having control over who's attending, but it also is a very big responsibility because it's really important that you that we also get back to attendees if we're not going to extend them an invitation for that event, because otherwise people will just be kind of pending approval. And what we've heard in the past is that this is one of the biggest pain points for attendees, is that they end up kind of in pending approval across a number of different events, and they don't really know how to book travel or to if they should be applying for different events that are at the same time because they're not going to get in. And so if you're going to do apply to register, it's really important that you set your overall event capacity and then proactively manage your approvals and rejections. So do that. I would recommend doing that on like at least a weekly basis where you're taking a look through and approving people, and then also letting folks know if they're not the right fit for your event and letting them know super early so that they can go and find other events on the calendar. You should have 80% of your guest list finalized by mid-April. If you need to leave a little bit of buffer for, people who are coming in from out of town and still figuring out their travel schedules, or like close partners of the organization or guests of your partners or sponsors, that makes sense. But you should definitely aim to have like almost the entire guest list finalized by mid-April so that attendees can make their travel plans and really secure their own schedule. There's a couple of ways that you can do this that make it even easier to manage. Luma allows you to set up these autoresponder emails. So even if you just change the status on someone, accepted versus rejected, it can send out and trigger an automatic email to let them know. You can modify that so that you can explain why, or you can also direct them to other resources that you have. So maybe they can't fit into an event that's only for 80 people, but maybe you have some digital content, or you want to direct them to subscribe to your mailing list so they can be notified about other events you might be hosting in the future. And then definitely just do everything you can to avoid last minute rejections. Let people know in advance if you can tell that they're not a fit for your event. Okay, so we also launched a co-branding kit as well. So we encourage everybody to feel comfortable using our logo. We've got a couple of different versions. The co-branding kit is in the event organizer resource guide. So we've got a bunch of different types of designs. If your organization has a brand aesthetic that you don't want to modify, you can do something super simple, like just doing this like green triangle that's in the corner. That's a super easy thing to add that can kind of go with everything. Or you could be looking at something a little bit bigger where you're using a larger logo and kind of building it into the overall look and feel of your event images. Or if you do not have a design bone in your body like me, we also have a Canva kit where we have like basic templates essentially where you can essentially just plug in the name of your event, the time, logos for any of your partners, and just download it and call it a day. This is definitely what I would do. And then so the bottom like right hand corner kind of gives you a couple of examples of what that can look like. So basically whatever you need, we're here to support you. Okay, in terms of resources and timelines, so the calendar officially opened for event submissions from event organizers about a month ago. And then the calendar was open for about 2 weeks for early bird access. So attendees who wanted to get access to the calendar before it went live to the general public. General public access launched on Monday. So we're on basically like day 3. Right. So if you haven't submitted your event yet, that's totally okay. Our recommendation is to get it on the calendar as soon as you can. It just means that you have the most amount of time for brand visibility, for people to be registering for your events. Some attendees may be really proactive and build out their entire schedule super early. but many attendees do not end up looking at the calendar until closer to the date. So you definitely still have time. Another big thing too that I like to remind people about for this event in particular is that if you're an event organizer and you're hosting an event, you want like at least a month to promote the event to ensure that you're going to get good attendance. That is not a problem that we have for SF Climate Week. We have so many people coming in from out of town, and the biggest complaint that we hear is that there are more people who want to attend events than there are events with capacity. And so there's we are just constantly looking for more event organizers and for more events to satisfy the demand of all the people who are looking to have a full schedule during that week. So we've had people who added their events like 3 or 4 days before SF Climate Week, and the events completely fill up. So don't let that be the concern, but we definitely do encourage you to get it on the calendar early just to maximize the impact that you have, and also just to make it easier for you as you're managing your guest list and doing all that review process as well. So through March, you should be taking a look and reviewing and confirming all of your applicants, taking a look at the partner marketing kit, and promoting your event and your participation in SF Climate Week on social and in your newsletters, and kind of just getting the maximum impact you can out of the joint branding opportunities. In April, you should be confirming your final attendee list and then doing even more to raise awareness. This is a great time to kind of be posting about specific speakers who are participating in your event, a little bit more about the topics you're planning on exploring. And then after or during your event, sharing your learnings with the broader community as well. So if you're going to do any kind of like recap coverage, like consider, writing a blog post about what was shared during your event. This is a great opportunity to engage people who weren't able to attend your event. Because if we've got like, even if your event size is, 300, which would be on the larger side, there's still 25,000 other people who weren't able to come to your event and maybe really interested in learning more about the learnings that were shared. So definitely encourage you to think about the digital marketing aspect of this as well and share those learnings with the broader community. And we may repost that or include that in some of our recap coverage as well. If all of this sounds like a ton of work and you are not that keen on running an event anymore, you can also join us as a sponsor. We have sponsorship opportunities across a number of different events, or we also have the ability to sponsor the entire week, which is kind of a larger branding play for organizations as well if they're looking to have exposure across a number of different events with different audiences throughout the week. If you're interested in sponsorships or in learning more about any of the events that you could sponsor, we have one that's focused on energy. We definitely have a couple that are focused on founders and investors. Nature-based carbon markets and aviation are also events that we have sponsorship opportunities for. So let us know if that's something that's interesting to you, or if you're a food and beverage beverage provider and you're looking to donate food or wine, let us know. We also have opportunities to plug food and vendors in as well. Wouldn't be a good sponsorship slide without thanking all of our sponsors from last year. Sponsors really help us basically do all of this infrastructure work that allows us to support all of you, all of the event organizers. So huge impact for the organization. And we're excited to be announcing some of our 2025 sponsors very soon. And with that, I will open it up to questions. So if anybody has a question, feel free to raise your hand and I will call on you. You can go off mute. And if you don't have any questions because I covered everything or because I talked so fast, that is okay too. I definitely feel like I went through that last section for sure. Wanted to make sure we left some time, and also Becky's presentation was so awesome, and wanted to make sure that we included that as well. Hi, Glenn.
Hi, yeah, just a quick question. Can you go back to that one slide you just had at the very end there, with your contact stuff? Just
Yep. This.
that one. Oh,
Oops.
oh, no, down a bit there. Yeah, thank you. All right. I'm with the IEEE Smart Village, and we're just trying to be a sponsor.
Oh, fantastic. Awesome. Any other questions? Amir. Hi, Amir, go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, I mentioned last time about making all the events, help them register as reuse and zero waste events as well as clean mobility.
Mhm.
Um, and anything sustainable, basically. We're just tracking a few things, and there could be one or more that we still need to track. So collaborate on that. What would be a good way to follow up? Would you want to?
Yeah,
I
I would
sent
say
it.
I would say to email the email address that we had on the slide here and just shoot us a note. One thing I will mention, our team is very, very lean. We are 3 people and we're also running 5 of our own events. So we don't have a ton of time right now to take on new initiatives for this year. It might be something that we look at in 2026, but let me know what you would need from our team in order to execute on what you're looking for, and we can see what we can do to try and support.
Cool. That would be great and appreciated. And even if we can, even if you can announce that it's an option, whoever is interested and the organizers who will pick it up, that would be nice. Yeah, I'm not expecting you to spend too much time on it, just to be very short.
Right. A Roberts. Don't know what
Thanks.
your first name is, but I'll
Oh,
call him next.
thank you. It's Alice. Yeah, hi. I just had just a general sort of question. Are there any sort of guidelines or any restrictions in terms of the time of during the day that an event can take place? Can be early morning, late in the evening.
Yep, anytime. You could even make it at like 3 in the morning if there's people who want to get up for, I don't know, a crazy dark run or something like that. No time restrictions like that at all. We've actually extended the dates this year as well to include both weekends. We used to go like Saturday to the following Sunday. We've increased it, so it's the full weekends for both. So those are just the only time parameters that we really have. It's just the days of the week. Um, and I would say we've seen some morning breakfasts that have done incredibly well. Like it actually surprises me because I'm like, I'm not an early riser, but we've seen some like events that kick off at like 7:30, 8 in the morning, and have been very successful. And actually, that's even lowballing it because I know that there are some even earlier bike rides, morning runs. So I think there's a lot of folks like you who like to get up early.
And as a follow-up question to that, thank you for that. Any rule of thumb or any best practices around the ideal time length for an event? Like,
Mm.
is it best to have like a 2-hour event, or do we see a lot of, trailing off if we had like a 3 or 4 hour event, or
I would say
any best?
I think it really depends on the event and the format
Okay.
for it. I would say anything under 2 hours though might make it hard for people to like think about jumping over to your event. Like if they have to consider transit time or moving between like different areas of the city. If you're very, very central, maybe a short like something shorter than 2 hours could work. But I would say you probably don't want to go shorter than that. I would also say as you look at a longer event, a couple of things to consider are like food and beverage. So if your event's gonna be more than 4 hours, if you're serving like lunch or some kind of food or cocktail reception, then I think you're fine because you're making sure people aren't gonna leave because they need
Yeah.
to, hit Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Um, but on the flip side, if you do longer, like a half day summit, like 6 hours or something, then I would say like, and we're running a couple of events like that. What I'm anticipating for is that some people might be able to come for the first half and not the second half, and then vice versa. So I'm planning for higher attrition for that half day event, but I'm still excited about it because I'm like, we'll be able to, in some ways, like engage more people. We'll have a full program. People who want to be in one place and not move around for the day, I think are really going to appreciate it. But I'm just planning that like we probably won't have full capacity on either side. And I'm just assuming it'll be like roughly similar distribution for earlier versus later.
Okay, thank you for that. And then also, so thinking of like run of show, the day of the event, is it up to us to sort of manage like, there's registration on the website, but then day of the event, is it up to the event organizers to sort of manage that, registration or truing up of individuals that have joined the event,
Yeah.
at
So
the
all
event?
Yep,
Yeah.
all event operational logistics are all managed by the event organizers themselves.
Okay.
Yeah, unless you're doing it in partnership with the SF Client Week team, but that's a very small. It's basically just events where we have sponsors lined up.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much.
And there's a really easy process for managing check-in with Luma. So like you can have like on an iPad or a phone, you can just scan a QR code, or you can have it on a registration list. We'll send out more emails and communication about that with like how to actually manage day of check-in processes. That'll be coming as we get closer to the dates. But we definitely do encourage you to use Luma to do the check-in process because it gives us way better stats on what does attrition look like, you know, our
Right.
all these different things. Is there higher attrition for certain types of events than others? And we are able to then share those types of insights back with attendees, so or with event organizers. So definitely encourage you if you can to do the check-in process through Luma.
Okay. And are there any other metrics or any other pieces of information that we would be required to like report back to Sustainabase or SF Climate Week
So you don't have to report
regarding?
back because we get them automatically from Luma. So as long as you're doing
Yeah.
it within the system, we'll be able to just gather the insights across the entire week, which is super helpful. And one of the reasons why we want everything to be on a central system. We ask that you don't change your registration questions. So when you create the event, or we have a couple of mandatory ones basically, and organization, title, and where people are coming from are like three of the top really important ones. We encourage you to add any that might be useful for you, but we ask that you don't remove those ones because it's really important for like different types of partners. When we're talking to keynote speakers, they're really curious to know what the demographic breakdown is, and the city really cares about it as well.
Okay. Great. Thank you for that, Morgan.
Awesome. Okay, I think
Appreciate it.
I saw your hand next. Garrett, can you?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah, so my question, how's it going? My question has to do with so I have a concept or a city hall, like basically want to set up next to City Hall. That would not be an event like with a venue for SF Climate Week. Is that correct? Or that could that be connected? Like I have, if I want to do like a table set up with like information about an issue that's happening in a certain part of the state of California, for example.
We are not planning to do anything at City Hall, so it's not anything that we could attach to like an event reservation that we already have. You'll want to talk to City Hall, so they manage all the permitting. I think I think there's like a venues person, like contact email on their website, and so you can reach out to them, and they basically like will manage everything that happens inside of City Hall and outside. And so if you're looking to like get permission to set up a table, they would be the ones to talk to.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And I think I submitted event request to you all, so I think that would be separate, and I kind of have to work that on the back end. But um, uh, would you expect are the approvals coming in like via email or what would the
Yeah, the approvals should be coming in via email. If you haven't received an approval, you can send an email to the email address here on the slide. One thing to highlight, if you do have something where if you mentioned that you um, have something in city, I haven't heard about this on my side, but like anything that is in like a public space, like a park, etc., we may be waiting to confirm that you do have like the permission to do that. This was an issue what we had like 2 years ago where we had some folks who were like planning impromptu events in parks, and the city reached out to us and they were like, please take these down. These organizations do not have permits to do events here, and that's actually a requirement. So then we just relayed that to the event organizers. They decided to move their events, but essentially for us and for our relationship with the city, we're very cautious about listing anything that could potentially be on city property if the proper approvals haven't been secured ahead of time.
right? That makes sense. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, awesome. Garrett, if you want to just put your organization name into the chat as well, or send me an email, whichever you prefer. I can also just double check on our side if your review is pending, or if it's because they're looking to get in touch with you about permitting. Awesome. Okay, Heidi, I think I saw your hand next.
Yeah. First, thank you so much. This is really helpful. I've been trying to kind of get all my ducks in a row, and this is a really helpful and timely session. So we are excited to host our first event and actually decided to add a second event this year. So we will be doing two our first year, which we're excited about. The topics for these don't fit squarely into any of the buckets on the event page. So I was just curious as I'm setting these up, is it best to pick the closest one that matches or not pick one at all? And then my other question is, are you open to adding additional categories?
Great questions. So first of all, I think when you say they don't fit squarely, are they overlapping with categories or are they like not even related to the categories at all?
I would say like broadly, if I had to pick a broad category, it's around like reducing emissions. So not necessarily carbon capture, which I saw on there, but really around decarbonization for companies.
Yeah. Okay, that's helpful. Yeah, no, reduction versus capture, that makes sense. Maybe we can look at changing the phrasing potentially. I'm kind of
Yeah.
side-eyeing Lila, even though she's not on camera right now. We could take a look at that. What the other thing I was going to say is you can also select more than one track. So if you have like two that are kind of overlapping, I would suggest you pick both. But in your case, it's like, definitionally, it's not exactly the same. I would probably, do like what feels like the closest.
Okay.
And we'll take it. And if you want to maybe just drop your specific situation in the chat, we can take a look at it and see if there's a change in verbiage we could look at. We're hesitant to add more tracks because we're already at 15. But it's one of those issues that we went back and forth on the tracks for so long because there are just so many topics and so many different ways to break this down. It is a tricky challenge.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'll send over some thoughts.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you.
You.
Alex.
Hey, folks, huge fan, excited for another Climate Week. I'm really curious. I'm going to submit a request to create an event, but I just want to sort of, get a sort of a market pulse here, Morgan, with you and company. Do you think representing one of the largest redwood foundations in the world would sort of vibe with what's going on here? Because I just happened to join this amazing nonprofit and we're trying to truly embrace AI to restore and protect the redwoods. So I know it's not too much of a last minute, but I'm just sort of curious, do you think that would be welcome? Do you think that's kind of the vibe we're looking for?
Oh yeah, absolutely. First of all, I would say there's literally no climate topic other than something that would be disparaging a specific person or specific group of people that we would not think fits into the umbrella. But I can also tell you that I'm talking to a number of different conservation groups. I would say that we haven't engaged nonprofits as much like over the last 2 years, primarily I think because of like who our target audience is for climate based. Like we have a massive database of all these climate tech companies, climate VCs, and then the corporate partners kind of like already have a lot of these existing relationships, have budget, are able to mobilize quickly. This year I also spoke with like Nature Conservancy, Sierra Club, etc. Their structure just isn't the same for being able to quickly spin something up like like a happy hour. But there is a lot of interest in these topics for sure. And if anything, I think like as our team grows, we want to have an even better focus on how do we engage and support nonprofits in being able to bring even more of these conversations to the forefront. So if they have someone like you who can do some of the heavy lifting around just identifying the venue, kind of being boots on the ground and some of the operational pieces, I would say it's way easier to host an event via SF Climate Week versus like independently at any point. I've had a number of people who say, I've never hosted an event before. You guys made it so easy because we templatize everything and we bring the audience. And we bring such a big audience that it's not hard to like find a lot of people who are interested in your specific topic. That would be number one. And I say that basically to anybody who's considering doing an event, even if you haven't done it before. But the second thing I would say is we've had a lot of requests and inquiries about conservation, responsible land use, climate justice. And those are events that I think are underrepresented on the calendar. So there's definitely a big demand to have even more of those types of conversations.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And yeah, I'll submit it today and tomorrow. Thank you.
Awesome. What's the organization name? Could you put it in the chat?
Yeah, sure. It's the Redwood Forest Foundation. And just please forgive us. We're renovating this amazing old foundation and we seek to kind of update it. So if you go to redwoodforest.org, it's very, we just launched it. It's very, very much still in process, but I'll give you both websites and pop it in the chat. But yeah, we manage 50,000 acres of redwoods, including old growth stands. So it's like an amazing gift of an opportunity to steward and enhance. So
that is amazing. What would be your kind of like your goal or target audience for the event?
Yeah, so we are literally we're in talks with Boston Dynamics about deploying their Spot robot dog, Limu, hyperspectral imagery, as well as Wildmon for ground truthing. So we really genuinely want to deploy artificial intelligence and machine learning to help protect and restore. We want to bring that 50,000 acres to 100,000 acres in perpetuity being protected. That 50,000 acres is currently I think it's a 200-year plus conservation easement, but it might be in perpetuity. So we want to truly ask, hey, we're not looking for funding, straight up. We're looking to enhance the current offering and really match where philanthropic kind of markets meet demand, and then we'll rebrand and launch and that kind of thing. So,
are you doing anything around CDR, like carbon markets?
I mean, well, the redwoods are one of the most effective natural carbon sinks. And speaking of permanence, they're the ones that we haven't cut down are there for thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah.
So we do have several funding streams: philanthropy, carbon removal credits, as well as selectively harvesting for timber. So those are the three revenue streams we have.
Okay, great. Yeah, if you shoot me an email, I might actually have an event recommendation potentially for you, like just a partner contact that could be interesting, who's already doing an event.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, cheers.
Garrett and Heidi, I'm assuming that your hands are not up again and that they're just haven't been taken down, but just put something in the chat if you actually have a second question. And in the meantime, I'm gonna chat with Roger.
Hey Morgan, I was looking for any advice you have. I'm a former like presidential campaign staffer from a couple cycles, and I know there's like a lot of other folks out there, but I don't necessarily know anyone who wound up in the Bay Area, or who ended up doing who does climate stuff in the rest of their career.
Mhm.
So I thought it was an event idea to bring some of those people together, even something simple like a happy hour. But my network isn't here, so I just don't know how attended it'll be. I was wondering if you had any advice for if you've seen that before for something niche like that.
Definitely have seen niche events for sure. I also think it's such an interesting topic and audience, and so prescient to our current situation. My recommendation would be that you put something on the calendar. You mention in the description that you're like kind of like open to you're kind of like taking temperature to see like how many people are actually going to be here. You've got some flexibility on like time or scheduling, and see how many people register. And then if in the event that you don't get a lot of interest, you can always email people as long as you do it like a couple of weeks before the event and just say, hey, the interest wasn't there. Going to call it for this year. We'll work on something for next year. If you don't get enough people. That being said, though, there's also been some events where like you end up with like 25, 30 people who are having like beers in a bar. I think we like the Bicycle Coalition did like a really cool event last year. There's some other ones that are focused on very specific like legislation or initiatives here in San Francisco. And those can also just be fantastic and amazing events. And so
Totally.
if it's small but highly targeted, that could still be fantastic. But you always have the option that you can cancel it. And I think as long as you communicate early, nobody's upset by that. And so you might be surprised by how many people are coming out who do actually have that interest or that background.
Awesome. No, this is exactly what I wanted to hear. Thanks so much, Morgan. I'm gonna drop. Appreciate the call.
Awesome. Great to meet you. All right. Any last call for any questions? Any last lingering ones? Otherwise, you can send an email to sfclimateweek@climatebase.org. Awesome. Great. Thank you so much for everybody coming out. Really excited that all of you are thinking about hosting events this year. Definitely encourage you to if you're on the fence. We are here to support you. And really, it's event organizers like you that make all of this possible and make SF Climate Week happen. So thank you so much for all the work that you put into this, and let us know how we can continue to support you. Thanks so much, everybody.